Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Elivaras, and welcome back to Here We Go, the Total War Warhammer Discord tournament. This is round 1, matchup 4 between Rozkun and Shaxyel. We see Rozkun playing on Clan Angren and Shaxyel playing as the forces of chaos. And with me to co-commentate is Praise the Soul.
Hey guys. Not the most experienced player, but it's nice to be here representing the forces of chaos.
Yeah, he's going to be taking us through the chaos comps in a little bit here. It's going to be pretty hype up in here. So let's hop into Clan Angren, and then we're going to see forces of chaos, and we're going to talk a little bit of strategy before going into this because it is a bit of a short recording. We're only doing one battle in this one to save my hard drive space until I can get a bigger hard drive. So we have 4 units of Dwarf Warriors with some bronze chevrons in the front. We got a Rune Lord. We have some Longbeards right behind him. We have 2 ethereal units here. King Lun Iron Hammer, basically a Thane melee specialist. And we see Halkanoff Stonebeard, another melee specialist. We see a Rune Smith in the back here. We see the Grumbling Guard looking pretty cool in there. Green and gold armor. They're definitely going to be a staple of the Dwarvish force here as long as they're fighting, they keep all units fresh around them, which is going to be very, very good for the dwarves here. We see the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass in their red and gold armor, and Flaming Axe is definitely also looking cool. They should really help hold the line. They've got 50 melee defense, going to be a little hard to hit. We see some more Dwarf Warriors in the back here, and then backed by some Dragonback Slayers in their jewel-encrusted axes. And we have a unit of normal Slayers. So what do we have over on the Chaos side there, Soul?
So for the forces of chaos, looks like we've got frontlining 4 units of Chaos Marauders, backed up by 3 units of Chaos Warriors there. Just behind them, some aspiring champions, maybe looking to take out the ethereal Rune Lords and ethereal heroes of the Dwarven forces, hopefully. Just behind them, some 2 Forsaken units with Frenzy, looking to do some damage to the Dwarven forces. And leading the forces of chaos today, we have Sartorial, the Everwatcher, someone who studies the law of metal, hopefully turning some people to gold or throwing some transmutations of lead down. If we look over to the right flank, just around here, maybe looking to do some sort of cavalry shock tactics, which we look like we're having, with 2 units of Chaos Knights. So the general tactics I think the Chaos will be looking to do today is send forward the big meat of their army, create a nice little anvil there, have these aspiring champions move through it and try to kill these ethereal heroes, hopefully focus them, Sartorial dive bombing, disrupting the dwarves, and then having the shock cavalry flank around and hammering the crap out of the dwarves.
Yeah, we do see the Chaos Knights with Lances actually huge charge bonus of 80. If they can get some good charges off, that's going to be huge. Monumental for the Chaos line here. So what do you think about Chaos not bringing any monsters for a very infantry-heavy force? What do you think that's going to work out for them in this battle?
I think monsters are very powerful, and they'll be very good against dwarves anyway, just disrupting them and stopping them from dealing any damage. Monsters are very good in the Chaos Army, and they're quite a big part of the Chaos Army, actually. I think going full infantry is an interesting tactic. I mean, all these guys here, these 7 units of Chaos Marauders and Warriors, they're all armor-piercing, and dwarves are renowned for their incredibly high armor. So hopefully they'll be able to do a lot of damage there.
Yeah, hopefully. He really needs that armor-piercing to go a long way, but the only thing is that doing armor-piercing does trade off the shields, so decreased melee defense for an increase in melee attack and armor-piercing is worth it against the dwarves, but that just means he's not going to be able to match the dwarves toe-to-toe in terms of staying power. So when you're going up against Clan Angren, you really have to expect at least 1 ethereal hero, okay? Unless you're playing Clan Angren against Wood Elves, you should not be bringing ethereal heroes. But especially against Chaos, who is renowned for not much magic damage, if really not any. They have like 1 unit that has magic damage on them. You have to expect these ethereal heroes, and you need to be able to deal with them accordingly, because ethereal units have 80% resistance to all damage. So they do have 0 armor, or okay, in most cases they have 0 armor. These guys don't have 0 armor because they're dwarves. But because of their extremely high resistance to physical damage, they're going to be a pain in the butt to take down. And if he doesn't get his only magic units in the army on these ethereal units, they're not going to be able to bring them down. They're going to be huge damage sponges, and they're just going to be able to, soak up everything. It's going to be really a pain in the butt for the Chaos to pull out a win here. The only units they have that seems to have magic damage after myself and Soul search their whole army is the Aspiring Champions. So if these Aspiring Champions are not on the Ethereal units, it's going to be a huge, huge issue. So what do you think of Clan Angren's comp in this match? Bringing a lot of Slayers. Maybe he was expecting a lot of monsters from Chaos?
I think 2 units of Slayers is a good kind of insurance to take, because you should expect monsters with Chaos, but maybe that's what Shaxyel's tactic was, to not go with monsters at all and hope that Roz brought some Slayers to make them effectively not useless, but a lot less effective than if he did have monsters. Of the Dwarves army are the heroes. Yeah, they definitely should be focused and taken out as quickly as possible, especially with that Rune Lord applying lots of buffs to the troops, which Dwarven forces usually stay quite compact and quite defensive, so all the forces would definitely have those buffs. So I'd be looking to either split the forces up or focusing those heroes, definitely.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so let's get ready to hop into this battle. We're going to try and do a bunch of slow motions to extend the battle time a little bit. Let's go ahead and hit play in 3, 2, 1. And we'll start to see the armies moving towards each other, and then we'll go into slow-mo for when they actually clash.
Yes, both sides here, both charging towards each other.
Looks like we're going to have a huge cinematic starting fight here. Definitely a good map for it, being very snowy. The Dwarvish holds have been taken by Chaos, and they need to take them back. All right, let's get ready to hop into slow motion right about now as we see the lines start to collide. The transmutation of lead being popped here for decreased melee attack and decreased weapon damage. Going to really stunt the Dwarvish charge here, pun intended. And we see the Chaos Marauders leaping into the air, getting in the center of the Dwarvish line as the two armies collide. Sartorial leaping into the backline here, knocking a Dwarf Warrior on his butt as he charges for the heroes. All right, so I think we can hop back into play here. What do we have going on in the battle here, Soul?
Both frontline melees have charged straight for each other. The heroes just behind those lines applying buffs. You have the shock cavalry and the Chaos Knights charging straight into those Slayers, absolutely decimating them right there.
Holy
one
cow.
Slayer's completely down. It's only 30 units.
The Dragonback Slayers. Yeah, they are unbreakable, but they got hammered hard. How long do you think the Chaos Knights with Lances should be in this fight before having to duck out, being shock cavalry?
Shock cavalry, definitely. They should be in melee for as little a time as possible. Especially with these Slayers being unbreakable, they are not going to rout. They are not going to lose morale. They're going to keep fighting until they're all dead. This could actually be quite devastating for these Knights here if they don't pull out and charge one more time.
Yeah, as that Slayer unit is still at half health, and yeah, as you said, fighting to the end, they're going to do a lot of damage, being anti-large as well. You can see some Chaos Knights being knocked off their horses here as they fall. Now, let's take another slow-mo look-through of the frontline action right about now. Hopping in here, we see some Chaos Marauders going toe-to-toe with these Warriors of Dragon Fire Pass, and we see Rune of Negation being popped.
So Thuriel charging onto the back line, disrupting the units there.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to help the Chaos Knights finish off these Dragonback Slayers. But we can see the Chaos Knights are taking a huge chunk of damage. They should have been out a long time ago, it looks like.
Yeah, he definitely should have pulled them out now or earlier. He should have pulled them out 5 minutes ago. I mean, they're taking a lot of losses. With Slayers only having just a few people left, they're still decimating these shock cavalry. He really should have pulled them out.
Yeah, and with that huge charge bonus and being very good against infantry, he really needed some more rear charges on the Dwarvish line. And because they've basically been decimated, after that very good initial charge, they just took way too much damage. And the Dwarves are still alive. One Slayer unit still 20%, and they've decimated one of the Chaos Knights with lances.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't have a hammer and anvil without the hammer.
Fair enough, yeah. We see the Chaos doing a good job of holding the Dwarves in place. But now with no hammer anymore, there's not really going to be much they could do. So let's keep going in slow motion here, just taking a look down the line. Forsaken and Chaos Marauders and Chaos Warriors going toe-to-toe with some Dwarves. King Lun Ironhammer in the middle of the scrap, leaping into the fray, deep into enemy territory here. And let's go ahead and hit play. Hopping back into the fight here.
Those Chaos Knights definitely taking a lot of losses there.
Oh yeah, we see that one cav unit is routing, but we see another charge coming in. Definitely what he needed ages ago, another cav charge into the Slayer unit that's going to decimate them, hopefully. Although they did get hung up on the Dragonback Slayers, they're like 6 units they had left, so they didn't get as much of a charge as they wanted there.
Yes, unfortunately that charge won't be as strong as he intended. Slayer's still going there.
Still going, and the Rune of Wrath and Rune being popped on these Chaos Knights going to bring them down very, very far, and to the point where they're basically unusable anymore. We see the second unit of Chaos Knights coming in to help reinforce the charge.
One Dragon Black Slayer left for me.
One Dragonback Slayer, and he falls. The unit is wiped, but not before basically decimating these 2 units of Chaos Knights.
Yeah, those units of shock still being left in there. There aren't many left, so they're not quite as effective. But he still shouldn't waste them like that, I don't think.
Now we see a good charge into the back of these Dwarf Warriors, but as they've been depleted, there isn't really much that they're going to do at this point. So why don't we pause the battle here for a second, midway through the battle here, and we can talk a little bit about what he could have done better with these Chaos Knights. What do you think, Sol? He could have done better to, have a bigger impact on this battle.
I think the shock cavalry was definitely a very key part of the Chaos forces here. They would have been much more effective if they would have been kept alive. I'm not sure why he didn't pull them away from those Slayers. Maybe he thought those units were completely done. He might have forgotten that they were unbreakable. He might have thought that they would have won straight off, but he really should have noticed that sooner, pulled them away, sent them in for a second charge, finished off the Slayers, and then started applying the hammer to the anvil into the back of these dwarf forces.
Yeah, very much agree with you there. We did see, the massive chunk they took out of that Slayer group on their initial charge. The Slayers were basically decimated.
Huge. That was huge, yes.
A huge, good start for Chaos, but then they just got left in the melee, and being anti-large, the Slayers just made a huge comeback and just slaughtered the Chaos Knights. We can see all the bodies of Chaos Knights over here on the ground.
Yes, that wasn't too good a move from Shaxyel, yeah. I mean, looking at the Slayers, a lot of gold went into those Slayers, despite only having 2 units. So that was a big loss of money there, but also a big loss of money on the Chaos's part as the shock cavalry got taken out. Leaving them too long against the Slayers was a really bad idea.
Yeah, well, in the heat of the battle with everything to micro, it's understandable that he can make some mistakes here, but very sad for him as... some more hammers into the back of this Dwarvish line would have probably won him the fight here. But it is not over yet. We still see it's actually the tiniest tad in the Chaos favor. But we see all of the Dwarvish heroes basically on full health. Going to be a huge issue. What do you think right now, Sol, Chaos has to do to bring these lords down or to ensure the victory here?
We're looking at their lines here. Both aspiring champions are on the right-hand side of the Chaos forces, and they should really be targeting these ethereal units, but I just can't see them breaking through all of these Dwarven units here, all these stacks of warriors in front of them. Maybe a better tactic would have been to set them on Vanguard deployment behind the shock cavalry maybe, and have them swoop around, flank them with the shock cavalry, and target the heroes that way.
Yeah, fair enough. Very good points. Why don't we hop back into the battle? We'll help play in 3, 2, 1. And now we're back in, and we're going to have to see how it's going to work out the rest of this fight. We see Chaos Knights breaking from the fight, but it still is very, very close.
Very close indeed. Sartorial smashing through the backline of Dwarven troops there. Yeah, he has done very well with Sartorial. Actually, a lot of macro management needed to make him effective. Having multiple debuffs and buff applied there.
Now, it does appear that Sartorial does have magic damage too, so maybe if he'd gotten a Sartorial to disrupt the Dwarvish lines, allowed the Aspiring Champions to push through, and then he could have, along with the Aspiring Champions, focused down the Ethereal Heroes. Maybe that could have done something. Taking quite a bit of damage, it looks like.
Yeah, he's taken a big hit there. Needs to pull him away. Although Sartorial could take a bit more damage than he wanted to.
I feel like if Chaos had brought some monsters, like maybe a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth or something, he could have focused the Rune Lord down, and that would have been huge, because the Rune Lord, you know, the Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, a huge amount of damage to any unit he wants. And then he's got the 44% damage negation and plus 30 armor, which are also huge.
Yes, those are huge buffs there. The door's very, very difficult to take down. So monsters might have helped to disrupt, trying to puncture through the front line of the dwarves there. Just going back to Sartorial though, Sartorial is very useful at disrupting troops and requires a lot of micromanagement, but when used effectively can really disrupt, as you said, ranged units, which unfortunately the dwarves don't have. But he definitely shouldn't be used to take out heroes, I don't think, especially if they gang up on him. He can get taken down very, very quickly.
Yeah, very, very true. And let's hop into play here. Back to normal speed and play out the rest of this fight. It's still quite an even battle. We see actually a lot of wavering and routing on the Dwarvish line, as Dwarf Warrior units are taking a ton of damage. But the Rune Lord does have the ability to make his army unbreakable for periods of time. So that might be, well, actually, if he brought the rune, I think it's a rune he has. And that might really help him. We see the Grumbling Garden.
Yes, the Rune of Stoicism. The Rune Lord does have that, yeah. That would be very useful against the Chaos. So I think the tactic that Shaxyel has gone for here is much more of a shock, take down the dwarves as quickly as possible, especially bringing a lot of great weapon units with very high attack and armor piercing, very good against dwarves, but not very tanky. And the dwarves have done very well to prolong the battle, being unbreakable and having lots of damage resistance. They've just slowly worn down the Chaos Warriors over time.
Yeah, very, very true. We see the battle has tilted heavily in the dwarves' favor as a mass rout ensues on the Chaos line, and all of their forces are in retreat. Now it's just Sartorial, so why don't we go into double speed here, play out the rest of this battle as Sartorial tries to stand against all odds. Can he pull out the victory? Is it possible? Probably not.
One more transmutation of lead.
You can see the whole dwarvish army surrounding him. His disruption is being put to good use, but sadly it looks to be all but over. As the clan Angrind and led by Rozkun win in a Pyrrhic victory. So I believe Rozkun does end up taking this series 2-0. Shax just didn't have anything to deal with the ethereal units, which as we end this replay, we will talk about right about now, because as we saw through that whole battle, if we look on the final screen, how high health the ethereal units were on, and the rest of his heroes.
Yeah, his heroes very on high health there. They weren't, whilst in the battle, they weren't targeted at all by the Chaos forces, it seems. Looking more on the Chaos side, that shocked those Lancers, 85 and 67 kills. Very high, that's a lot of Slayer kills there. but just unfortunately, they weren't as effective as I believe they could have been, taking many casualties fighting those Slayers for a bit too long, or a lot longer, rather than they should have been. They should have been conserved a lot more. Maybe the micromanagement of Sartorial was what distracted Shaxyel from those Lancers.
Yeah, that is very possible, and I guess maybe against Clan Engrand, Sartorial is a good choice. You can disrupt their ranged units who are very slow, so Sartorial will be able to hop on top of them. But he didn't have any ranged units, and the fact that, yeah, he was microing Sartorial the whole time probably meant that he was distracted in other places of the battle.
Most definitely, yeah. With all those buffs from the ethereal units and the Rune Lord especially, with something like 60% damage resistance, which is just crazy. It made the armor penetration nearly negligible there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what do you think Shax could have done better to win this battle or turn it in his favor anyways?
He definitely should have focused the heroes a lot more. I mean, I believe that the best thing to kill heroes is other heroes, which with Sartorial, very useful against ranged units, but unfortunately the Dwarves opted for a much more infantry-based assault. With the Chaos doing the same, and with all the buffs from the Dwarven heroes, it was just wasn't quite enough from the Chaos, especially. I mean, I think the shock cavalry could have been used much more effectively. They could have turned the tide of battle a lot more. Just repeated shock cavalry charges into the backs of the Dwarven troops definitely would have hit them hard. I mean, we saw the first charge from the Slayers there, almost destroying the Slayers instantly. But like we said, reiterate once again, they were left there too long and got taken out with that stat unbreakable. Really strong.
Yeah, they decimated the Slayers in the first charge, but yeah, as we've said so many times, they were just in there too long. If he'd pulled them out earlier, he may have been done a little more with them. But in the end, I don't know if he necessarily would have been able to even turn the battle in his favor, just with the lack of things he had to deal with the Dwarvish heroes. Because, yeah, as we see, the Ethereal unit's on very high health, the Rune Lord on very high health. He didn't have much single target damage by bringing no monsters, and he didn't really have much magic damage. His only hope was to focus the ethereal units with their aspiring champions, but their aspiring champions got caught up in the frontline fight and weren't able to kill them.
Yeah, that's very true. The Dwarves are very, very strong units. If we look at their health, though, of the Chaos Marauders and Warriors compared to the Dwarven Warriors there, a lot of the Dwarven Warriors units are actually really low on health. And even if their morale was really high unbreakable, eventually, once that buff would have worn off, their morale might have dwindled, and just through sheer numbers, the Chaos could have brought it back slightly. It's quite hard to tell, to be honest, with the shock cavalry being lost fairly early on in the fight.
Yeah, even though the dwarves could be on like 5 units left or 5 individuals left in a unit, they were just still in the fight. They just weren't breaking.
Yeah, dwarves are not to be underestimated. They're very defensive, very high armor. They don't get killed very easily at all, and unbreakable, synergizing with that really, really well. Yeah, dwarves are very, very powerful.
Yeah, maybe by changing his build slightly and microing a little more effectively, Shax could have turned that battle in his favor. But as I said, Roz takes this series 2-0. Shaxyel plays him as the Beastman in the second battle, and unfortunately, he has another issue again with the Ethereal Heroes. But I think that's going to wrap it up here. I would like to thank Soul for joining me in co-commentating this episode of Here We Go.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, really enjoyed having you on. We'll hopefully have you on again in the future, as there is going to be a lot more tournament footage coming your guys' way. So I would like to thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Cheers, guys.